Good morning, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us. I am Tasha Burkpeart, and I'm a technology program specialist with the Department of Educational Technology. And I have with me here today.
My name is John Long, and I'm also a specialist with the Department of Educational Technology, and we're glad that you're here.
So, before we get started, a couple of housekeeping things. This session is being recorded, so you'll be able to view it again after we're done, either by hitting the replay or by viewing it on our YouTube channel. We are trying to get to 3,000 subscribers, which is just absolutely amazing, seeing as we just started this when we first went remote. So subscribe to our YouTube channel below. Hit the bell if you want to be notified of future live streams. John, where are we at with subscribers?
Oh, right now we're at 2.8 thousand subscribers. We're just climbing the charts.
Right. So we only have like 200 more to go. So come on, hit that subscribe button down below. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff this fall. And while you're there, give us a like, the thumbs up, not the thumbs down, the thumbs up. The chat is to the right, and I am a little challenged right here, so I don't know which way it is, but the chat is to the right. Use it to communicate and share feedback. We have moderators in the chat with a wrench by their name. So they're there to answer the questions that you might have, or if you didn't get a link or if you didn't get some information, they'll put it in to repeat, but please use the chat. Finally, our EdTech training, Palm Beach School, edtechtraining.palmbeachschools.org website is packed with videos of former live streams and resources to help you this fall. And our contact information is on there. And John's going to show you a little bit more about the website at the end of the presentation.
One more thing I want to add, Tasha, is that we want to encourage everybody two things. First of all, is we want to hear your feedback in the chat. So like interact with, if you've got ideas, share your ideas with us as well. And we want you to take a workshop selfie. And I'm going to show you what a workshop selfie is right now. So Kate and Tasha, we're going to smile real big. And I've got my little camera here. I don't know if you can see my camera. And I'm going to take a picture. Boom, there I go. Take one more. All right. And so post that in the hashtag, which is ETPBC, Summer PD. I almost forgot. Thanks so much. And I'm going to turn it back to you, Tasha.
Okay. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about the 4 C's. This is a very fun topic, and Jan and I really love showing you some of these tools. We're going to break them individually and go over the individual C's: collaboration, communication, critical thinking, creativity. This slide deck actually has tons and tons of resources and links. So we're going to put the link either down below or in the chat or one of the two. You will get the link so that you can have the presentation, because there's a lot that we've included in this presentation. And I do want to say, when we talk about the 4 C's, take your time. We have a lot of stuff that we're showing. Don't try to do everything at once. Just pick one thing and see whether or not you can implement that into your classroom. And just know that this is recorded. You can always go back to it. You'll have the resource. And then as you get comfortable with one thing, then maybe you could add something else. Anything else you want to add about the what we're going to talk about, John?
Just that we are going to put a lot of this, the presentation as well as the recording, on our 4 C's webpage, which is located on our edtechtraining.palmbeachschools.org website. So all of this will be available on that if you did not get a copy in the chat. And I think they put the copy down, the URL, the bit.ly down there at the bottom. And remember, yeah, bit.lys are case sensitive too.
Case sensitive, that's right. So we're going to dive right in. We're going to dive right on in. Now, everybody always talks about the 4 C's, and it's important to kind of think about what that means. It all centered around the question, what should graduates be able to do and know to be competitive in our global society? All right, so this guiding question prompted the creation of this framework, the 4Cs framework for 21st century learning. So with input from educators, the business community, advocates for technology instruction, 4 key skills were deemed important for students to master, in addition to reading, writing, arithmetic, the content areas. So we're going to show you some tools that are going to help students interact with your content in an engaging and rigorous environment centered around these 4 Cs. And like my teammate Rebecca said the other day, it's really 5 C's. We didn't break out the 5th one being compassion, but I want to ask you to put on your compassion glasses. Look at everything through compassion, because that really is what we're going to need. Well, we need it all the time, but going into remote, you'll have a new set of students that you have to build relationships with. So we have to be compassionate. So we're going to show you some ideas such as having your students record and represent what they learn, elaborate on their thinking, examine similarities and differences. We're going to show you some tools to help them provide each other with feedback and examine their reasoning and revise their knowledge. These tools can also be used to review content. John and I have a lot to show. This session is designed, like I said, just to give you options. Don't try to do them all at once. These are just tools for your toolbox. And then when you have a situation where you feel like, this is something I think I could use, then go ahead and grab it. So, John, anything you want to add?
Just one more thing I want to say is that the 4 C's or 5 C's are really designed for both teaching and learning, because it's how you as a teacher can do instruction, and actually how a student can actually use them to learn. And so it kind of partners with each other. And so we want to kind of give you some ideas. And we've got some plans to actually, when we do live streams in the fall, kind of build out on these and have some more live streams that focus on the individual pieces. So don't worry, we've got more coming.
And before we do anything, I always have to tie everything back to our vision and our mission. So as you can see, I just highlighted a few things just to show you that even talking about the 4 C's, it's built into the core of what we believe at the school district. A dynamic, collaborative, multicultural community, giving students the ability to succeed in the global economy and have productive careers and be responsible citizens. All of these things, I just wanted to make sure, I reinforce the fact that everything we do, and we do appreciate everything you do, every single thing that we do is tied back to our vision and our mission. So we're going to jump right into collaboration. I have some really fun things to talk to you about. There's never been a time ever where collaboration hasn't been important. I mean, that is literally, it's so important to teach students how to work together. And so what I'm going to show is just a bunch of things that you can consider when school starts. The first one is, and I have it bigger here. This is a guide that we got from Alice Keeler, who is a blogger. I like to follow her. And if you don't follow her, I did put in the additional resources information about her blog. This is just simply a guide for students in collaborating with Google Slides. I don't know if you've ever had this experience of, wanting students to work together in Google Slides and they just didn't quite know how to do it, how to turn it in Google Classroom and everything. Because if they're collaborating, then it's just one document. It's not everybody's turning in the same slides. So this is something that you might want to go over with students to basically show them that you have one group member who starts it and shares it with everyone else. The one group member is actually the one who submits it, but make sure that everybody's name is on there. So you can use this document as a little handout when you're talking to students about collaborating together. This is a video, and it's a very, step-by-step video. When you click on it, this is going to show you how to assign group work in Google Classroom. Now, John Shoemaker is going to be doing a live stream later after this one on Google Classroom. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I do want to show you. I have an example here of my classwork page. And so if I were to create an assignment, again, we're talking about groups, right? And we're talking about having students collaborate together. One way to do this is under the students here in the assignment, you can actually deselect all students and pick individual students. So they are only the ones that are going to get this particular assignment. So that is another really good management piece in Google Classroom, which John is going to go over more on how you can differentiate, you can have group works and everything in Google Classroom. So we wanted to make sure that we can add that directions in there for you. Because just as a reminder, this is sort of, I'm showing you the tools, and we have a lot. So we're going over a lot. So we're not doing all the how-tos right now, but don't worry, we put all the how-tos in here. The next one I wanted to show you is Google Keep, and this is actually one of my favorites. If you haven't used Google Keep, I encourage you to start using it. You find it everywhere. On the side, now I have my screen wide so that I hid everything all around so we can have the maximum amount of space when I'm presenting. But on the side of your Google Slides and on the side of your Google Docs and your email, you have these little icons here. You can also go to keep.google.com. You also find it in the app selector, which is that we like to call it the waffle. But what Google Keep is, it's a note-taking application. It's just digital notes. So when you talk about collaboration, here's an example. Students are working on a research project together. They can take collaborative notes in Google Keep. All those notes, they can actually slide into a Google. They can actually slide it into a Google slide. So I'm going to get off of the big view here. Oops. Sorry. I lost the presentation. Hang on. A little snafu of oh, wow. There we go. I'm back. So I was trying to get to Google Keep, and I'm just going to stick with my presentation and not try to go off script, because obviously that didn't work out right. I do have a picture of Google Keep at the back. I was going to show you live what it looks like, but thank goodness I had the foresight to take some pictures of Google Keep. So this is what it looks like. You can color code documents. You can create labels. This is where you would add collaborators. Okay, so a student can immediately open this up and start typing in another student's name, and they can collaborate. You can add checkboxes, drawing. If you're using a stylus, it turns your drawings into images. You can use it as a curation tool. So if you have web links, you can just collect your web links there. And there's so much that Google Keep can do. I'm going to get off of Google Keep now because I completely just discombobulated myself. So the next one that I want to go over is Google Jamboard. John is an expert, and also another teammate of ours, Dominique. They are an expert with Google Jamboard and infusing this into your teaching practice. Google Jamboard is basically an interactive whiteboard, and there's a lot of that you can do with that. And we hear, I don't know when this is coming, but we hear that Google Jamboard will eventually be embedded within Google Meet so that you have an automatic whiteboarding application in Google Meet. So what way to collaborate and brainstorm together than to use Google Jamboard? And this actually you can click on the link and it'll take you to Jamboard, or you could just go to jamboard.google.com. And if I create a new one here, I just want to show you a couple of quick things about Google Jamboard. It starts off with a clear frame, but you can change the background. There's even graph paper, there's line paper, and you can insert images, or what students can do is type on Post-it notes, which you can move around. You share this the same way you do all other Google products. You can also get the link and put it into your Google Classroom. So Jamboard is an excellent, excellent opportunity to use as a back channel to have students, exit ticket or something like that. Google Sites. Google Sites is another really good tool. And on our website edtechtraining.palmbeachschools.org, we do have information on Google Sites, more how-to information on Google Sites. But here's an idea. Have a class site that you can use as a blogging platform. So that way students can post, their reflections or post their little blog entries, comment on one another, feedback with one another, a way that they can collaborate together and do some digital publishing. My last example that I want to show under collaboration has to do with QR codes. Now this, when you get the copy of the presentation, this is awesome. This was created by Gail Sigalakis at Boca Middle, and this is an entire Google Drive folder full of QR code activities that you can use. And speaking of QR codes, I'm going to turn it over to John now while I try to compose myself. And John is going to talk about teaching with QR codes.
So Gail has a plethora of activities and stuff like that with teaching with QR codes. And I've loved QR codes from the past 10 years. And they're just amazing tools. And they're great ways for students to collaborate together because you can actually give them these activities. I have like printouts here, but you can put them in Google Slides and they can use it to kind of guide them through research. Instead of like giving them a worksheet, it's giving them specific guidelines for them. So like one of the sheets I have is Who Am I, which is a historical scavenger hunt about learning about a famous person in history, and it's actually about Martha Washington because I did it as a second person to George Washington. And so it's a great way for fifth graders to learn a little bit more about history. The second one is their example from Meredith Caro from Woodlands Middle, I believe. Hey, Meredith. And she did this as a way of front-loading information before they read The Great Gatsby, because students don't have any context when they're learning about the Roaring '20s. So when they're reading The Great Gatsby, they have some front-loaded knowledge before they get to it. Got one there for Earth Day. And I also have a couple for weather that they can be posters around the room when you get back to the room, or you can just put them in your virtual room. And you can post them and you can learn about different types of webcams around the world to learn about weather and climate and people and atmosphere. And then there's also ones about the solar system, because the solar system is a big thing in 5th grade, and we talked a little bit about it in 3rd and a little bit in 8th grade. So there's different types of ways of doing it. So these are great ways of being collaborative, but I also want to talk to you about the next part, which is a good segue on communication. Before I go, I want you to put in the chat your favorite suggestions for using collaboration and communication, because they work together hand in hand. So we're going to talk to you about how to use communication in teaching and learning. So if we go to the next slide, please. Google Slides has a Q&A feature. And so as you're presenting Google Slides, it could be live. Your students can actually post questions and you can provide the answers within Google Slides. And there's a link right there on the slideshow that sends you to a tutorial on how to use the Q&A feature in Google Slides. Tasha was a really good expert at that. She used that in her previous life as a media specialist before she came up to our team, and she showed me that feature. And so I've thought that was a great feature. And then we've got another couple of features from Flipgrid. In the spring, we had Amy from Flipgrid, and she did an amazing job on Flipgrid and how to use it, and it kind of inspired me. And so there's a link there on a live stream recording on Flipgrid, but I want to show you a few examples on the next page. So we can use Flipgrid for communication several ways. We can use it to do social emotional learning, our strategies to check in with our students. And that's going to be very important at the beginning of the school as we begin to learn about our students, because we're not going to see them face to face right at the beginning, but hopefully we'll get to see them face to face eventually. But in the meantime, they can use Flipgrid to kind of get to know your students and do your emotional check-ins every day. And so I've got an example of, I had a good day, and I kind of aligned that to the light side of Star Wars, and I had a bad day, and so I had the dark side. I was depressed that day. But I also said how you can use communication, like if I was teaching civics, because there's an example here of a screenshot on how to actually set up. Ask your students before they get started, what is government? Let them put it into their own words, what is government? So you have a little idea of what they're doing, and they can actually show that to you. They don't have to be on camera. They could put a little smiley face over them if they're shy, or they can share it with you and you can have it moderated and you can have other students add to it. So there are different ways of using Flipgrid to communicate with your students and let them communicate their learning. So it's all about going back and forth with communication with your students and your learning process. Another great feature is using Google Docs. Google Docs is a great way of collaborating. You can do peer editing in Google Docs, but you can also do peer writing. If you start with letting kids write together, let them kind of build a sentence and move things around and build a paragraph. Let your whole class work towards building an essay. If they don't know what an essay is, let them figure out how to start building that essay with the intro paragraph that ties into your first supporting document, and then so on and so forth for each paragraph. And then how are you going to wrap it up and conclude to your thesis of your essay? So it's a great way of doing it. And then plus you can have them peer edit. I always like to have an example of in front of my students that has mistakes. Because if there's one thing a student likes to do, they like to find mistakes with what the teachers have. And so if there are misspellings or if there's no punctuation, I'll use the audio feature to read. And if it doesn't have any punctuation, it doesn't stop talking. So it knows that you've got to learn how to add periods or commas or question marks or exclamation marks to what those pieces are. Let them kind of learn how to communicate using those features in Google Docs. It's a great way of building book reports and everything before they go on to final presentations. And it's how that they're communicating their learning. Tasha, do you have any things you want to add, or do you want to like move on forward?
I want to move on forward to critical thinking, because, you know, the one thing that I was going to add, I realized you're going to talk about Adobe Spark, because that is an awesome way with communication, having students be able to do that. But you're going to talk about that in creativity. So I'm going to go on and talk about critical thinking. So far we've gone over some tools for collaboration, some tools for communication, tools for critical thinking. I just want to mention something. These tools are not exclusive to communication or exclusive to collaboration. It all has to do with your content and your learning goals. It all starts with the standards. So whatever the standard is and whatever you're trying to get the students to learn, to master, then you kind of figure out what tool works. So we might have mentioned something in collaboration, or we mentioned something in communication, or something in critical thinking, but you think, you know, you could use it for another one of the C's. Please feel free to do that in your implementation. don't feel like you have to stick with these tools the way that we have them here, because every situation is unique, every situation is different. So critical thinking, this is like, I can't say that I have a favorite because I love all of these, but as John mentioned, I am a former media specialist, and woohoo, shout out to my media specialist if anybody's out there watching. So this is something that we do a lot, is help to help students develop critical thinking skills. This is not a one and done at all. This is something that, starts at birth and continues on. And we always need to stay on top of sharpening our critical thinking skills. So here's one thing that I wanted to show, Hyperdocs. And if you're not familiar with what a Hyperdoc is, it is a tool that you can use to teach your content, to have students engage in your content. So I have a couple of little screenshots here, but I'm going to show you what it looks like. There's actually a website which is linked, hyperdocs.co. And so the people who created it have a wealth of resources here. And I love this: keep the pedagogy, shift the instruction, by teachers for students. I love that, because basically it's saying that what I just said, it's the content, the standards that are important. This is just a shift in how you present the information to students. This is enabling you to create an engaging experience for them. So if you look here, turn my cursor back on. If you go to this website, just so that you can learn and get an idea of what a Hyperdoc is, under Find, there are a lot of samples. Okay, and you can use Hyperdocs in any subject area. Keep the pedagogy, this is just a shift in instruction. So if I were to just pick a science, this is like phenomenal, because you are automatically taken to their Google Drive folder, Hyperdoc materials, Hyperdoc lesson by subject, and then I'm in the science lessons. You can see who the owner is, right? So we have to do diligence and make sure that we're giving credit where credit is due. But any one of these, so I'm just going to click on one so that you can see what happens. So I'm opening up one of these samples. Of course, I would open up the one that's the hardest to read because it's in black. Let's try another one. There we go. It's a little bit better to read, a little bit better to see. They created these, but they have these, what makes a Hyperdoc is the interaction piece, right? So they have these tasks for students that have something to explore, and then, the student reacts and responds to what it is that they explored. And then they have to watch something to explain, and then they have to interact with it on this side, apply, and then reflect on what they've learned. So each one of these documents is designed to help the student get a deeper understanding of whatever it is that you're showing. Is it in place of instruction? No, this is like a supplemental piece for students to engage in whatever that you've taught. So when you see this, if you haven't done this before, but all you need to do is just go to File and make a copy. And now you have a copy of this that you can tailor to whatever it is that you're doing. So Hyperdocs are a wonderful, wonderful way. And I encourage you to at least take a look at them to see whether or not. Furthermore, on our website, edtechtraining.palmbeachschools.org, I know he's gonna keep saying it all throughout the video. We do have a live stream recording. Tanya Averitt from Adobe did a recording for us on Hyperdocs. and the instructional design of Hyperdocs. And so it'll give you a deeper understanding of how you can use Hyperdocs in a classroom. So I encourage you to check out her video. The next one that I want to show, this one, literally, I probably need a timer on. Somebody's going to have to like cue the orchestra music because I can talk about this for a very long time. Our Gale databases are, well, actually, no, our research databases. Gale is just one of them. Before I actually go live to show you those, I also wanted to mention Newsela. Newsela is a wonderful, wonderful tool where you can get informational text, you can get news, current events, articles. Newsela is a subscription-based product, but they do also have a free version. Schools can purchase Newsela on their own. So if you're new to the district or if you've never, heard Newsela, ask your admin, ask around to see if anybody at your school actually has Newsela. If you're a trailblazer, 4th through 12th grade trailblazers have a pro account to Newsela. But basically what Newsela is, it's not just the informational articles, but there are lessons and assignments and quizzes and everything built into the entire platform. So Newsela is great. Gale Research, SIRS Research, or PebbleGo. These are just 3 of the tools that I wanted to show. And on your district portal, under the instructional tab, you can always search for them, but I just wanted you to know where they lay. Under reference desk right here, this is where you have a lot of the research tools. So Gale Research is like secondary. But no, there's elementary too, I want to say. Let's see when it opens up. Yes, Gale is available for elementary, middle, and high school. I'm just going to open up one just so that you can see what it looks like, because it's a little overwhelming for people when they look at it at first, right? Because there's a lot of different tools here. But when this opens, basically Gale is just a bank of different subject area databases. So you have them on lots of different things, health and wellness, global issues, career transitions, history, academic one file. There's a lot of different ones here, but let me show you the benefit of incorporating this into your lesson. So let's say you're working on a topic, and you needed some additional content and you needed students to engage in content. This can also be a collaborative research project that they're doing or learning the research process. So I'm just going to pick one of those topics. It could be just any one of these topics here. And at the bottom, you see the featured content. And what I like is that, talking about critical thinking, this is helping students develop source literacy. And by source literacy, what I mean is the ability to know the differences in sources. All sources are not the same. So Gale already breaks it out for you where you can see, each one of the titles are hyperlinked. So you'd be able to get a little bit more information about where this article came from. These over here, you can clearly see your viewpoints. Here's a reference article. Here's a primary source article about this topic. So it's giving students the ability to see, oh, wait, they're all not the same thing. But if you go into one article, this is what I want to show you. You have all the information here talking about source literacy. If I click this hyperlink, it's going to actually show you a little bit more about the publisher. The Google Drive integration here, if students want, they can save this. They can highlight, take notes. It will save their notes, save their highlights. So this is an excellent way for when you think about, actually, we're going to also have today SLSO, another webinar of Smart Learning Suite Online. And I know this comes up a lot, wanting to have a PDF and be able to annotate over a PDF, right? So SLSO would be a good way to do that. You could have a Gale article and have students work together, analyzing, highlighting, taking notes, really interacting with what it is so that they can maybe learn the opposing viewpoints. And all of this can be saved in the Google Drive. If you have not looked at Gale before, I encourage you to take a look at it. I'm going to stop myself now because, like I said, I could talk about Gale for a very long time. But we're going to go back because I want to show Pebble Go. Pebble Go is, don't think the young ones can't do research, because they can. Pebble Go is for them. You can search. They also have these, preset topics here.
Like,
and as you can hear, because I just played it and I think you can heard it, it also talks. So you have the articles, their activities, there even is the citation here. So the little ones learn the importance of giving credit where credit is due. But Pebble Go is definitely something that you can use. SERS Researcher is another database, just like Gale. SERS Researcher I really like because you talk about opposing viewpoints. What this one does is helps students understand, because again, we're talking critical thinking. It helps students understand both sides of an issue, which is a difficult thing to get sometimes when you're reading, to try to really figure out what is this person trying to say. So it's broken out by viewpoints. You have the hot topics, which is on the first page, but you can also search by topic. Viewpoint 1, viewpoint 2, here are the articles here. So it is an excellent way for students to look at both and try to determine where this viewpoint came from. Where did this one come from? And then you could take it a step further and look at the sources. Let's analyze the source of this viewpoint. And it is just, I can't say enough with how wonderful these district supported tools are. And by district supported tools, I mean, these are paid research, with the exception of Newsella, which is, it is a paid subscription, but we don't have a complete subscription for everyone. These are available for everyone. All right. So it's not, so work with your library media specialist. Please work with your library media specialist, because they can help support you with learning more about the databases, dive into them. I love talking about critical thinking. I think that's pretty much all that I have on critical thinking. We're going to move into a super fun one, creativity. John has some really good things to show with creativity. I mean, that's another one I could talk about for a long time too, John, and that's Adobe Spark. But I won't. I'll stop.
One thing I want to add about critical thinking is that I love critical thinking because it's not just about a worksheet and answering questions. It's about what you're doing with the information that they're given. In elementary schools, I love it when they actually observe weather and they can actually document it in a table and create weather observations. Is it mostly cloudy? The high temperature? What is the low temperature? What is the difference? Graph those things. Create a weather forecast in front of a green screen. There's different ways of doing those things that they could do, and using tools like Flipgrid, or using tools like another tool that we're going to show you is going to be coming up on Adobe Spark, because they can actually create their own weather reports. So starting last year, every student had access to Adobe Spark. Adobe Spark is actually 3 applications. There is Adobe Spark Page, Adobe Spark Post, and Adobe Spark Video. And it's a real simple video editor. It's done all online. They can create a video or a slideshow, and then actually you can now tie it into Flipgrid, which just happened this summer. So it's a real easy way of getting started with that. And Tanya actually did another session on Adobe Spark this past spring. So she's got some of those things that were there. Adobe Spark Post is a great way of creating like a little montage of on poetry or like a PDA or something like that. Then you could do Adobe Spark page where they can actually create their own newsletter. In the chat, tell us how you use tools like this for doing creativity, because I know some of you have already been using Adobe Spark. So share your ideas in the chat right now so you can kind of share those things. So these apps you access through the portal. So you can actually go and you can log in, and they don't have to like go through the process. They actually have access, and they can go to these pieces and log in. And there's lots of templates. There's lots of different things. They can add their own video. They can add their own stills, and they can just add different things as they go along. So Adobe Spark is a really great tool. I'm still getting used to it because it's brand new, and it's really available to every student in our district. So use that tool really well this year. You can use it for SEL practices. You can use it for language arts, for math. Do a rap. Let them experiment on how to do some geometry problems. I should have loved that when I was in school to do it as a video, because I like making videos. One other tool I want to share with you on creativity is my favorite. It's Book Creator. I love Book Creator. I really like creating books with students because I think when students create something, they learn it. I started a project about 7 years ago, where we worked on fairy tales with second graders. And we actually wrote a fairy tale as a second grade class. And then they animated, and we actually created a book. So they learn the characteristics of a fairy tale, and then they learn how to produce their own fairy tale. I took that and turned it into a mystery, because mysteries are harder to write than fairy tales. You got to start with the ending. So I've got a couple of examples here of how you can use Book Creator, but I want to go back to the other slide in just a minute, because I'm going to talk to you about how you can use the free version. There's a free version of Book Creator where you can sign in as a teacher with your Google at app.bookcreator.com. You can create a library. It has a free plan with one library, and that library means that you can have multiple books, up to 40 books. Then you can archive them, and you can start all over. And we had a great presenter from Book Creator that showed them. And there's lots of resources out there. Actually, Book Creator is, if you're on Twitter, which I'm not a big social media person, but I've gotten where I love Twitter because I get lots of different resources from Twitter. And Book Creator was my first Twitter chat, and I loved using it because I got lots of resources. They provide books with samples, and it's amazing. One of the things I love to do is doing digital portfolios. When I'm working with teachers and students, I like to have book creators doing a book as a journal to their learning process. So if we're learning about the water cycle or the life cycle of a butterfly, then as we're learning different pieces, like maybe we're learning about the water cycle, and we can actually show examples that ice melting is part of that thing, that changes a matter. Or if we're talking about clouds, we can go and videotape clouds or take pictures of clouds and put that in our journal and talk about how clouds are condensation that is getting ready to form as precipitation. And so there's different ways of using Book Creator. If you're doing something on the planets, or if you're doing something on osmosis, or if you're talking about on some kind of chemistry problem, Book Creator is a great way of documenting that, and it's showing the students can actually articulate what they're learning. And that's the creativity of it. It's not that you're a good drawer, because creativity is more than just drawing. It's actually putting things together and learning through that process. And so that's one of my favorites. So let me go to that sample page here. I love the little rainbow. And a reason why I love the rainbow picture at the bottom there is because a 3-year-old did that. And they were creating a book about themselves. and she made that rainbow, and I thought it was so cool because as we were working with the students, they would draw a line and then they erased it. And I was just like, draw another one. Don't just keep erasing it. And then she tried another one. And I said, what is this? She goes, it's a rainbow. It's my favorite. And I'm like, that's amazing. That's a pretty rainbow for a 3-year-old. And then there's things like the water cycle there. And that's an example of the water cycle, or a book on rights versus responsibilities. So students can actually research different ethical reasons and what's their right and what's their responsibilities. You can use that in civics, you can use it in language arts, you can use it in science, math. There's an audio feature where they can record themselves. So they can actually articulate what they're doing as they're going through the process. You can actually have them read a passage or writing an example. So like over on the far right there is an example of my fairy tale book. And that's just a couple of images from it. We actually have the kids doing videos of the animation, and they're actually reading their part of the story. Those kids wrote that part of the story and animated it. So that's all their authentic work. And they can really document that they learned how to do the fairy tales. One more thing about that, in the mysteries, I interviewed some of the kids and the teachers the first year, and they loved the process. It encouraged them to create their own mysteries. And some kids have the creativity to write just as well as anybody else. And I think we need to promote that and that creativity. A couple other tools I want to share with you are on the next slide, which are Google Drawings and Google Slides. Within Google Docs and Google Drawing Slides, you can actually create drawings that kids can draw on their Chromebooks and stuff like that. So if Tasha, if you would hover over the Google Slides background, she's got a couple of samples there of what it looks like. And that's done in Google Slides with a picture and a few images of the water cycle. And they can actually, if you pull that up in Google Slides, don't do that right now, but if you pull it up in Google Slides, it actually will help them kind of drag that around to actually show what the water cycle is. Like I said, you can do that in multiple different ways, but those are some things that you can do right now with your Google Drawings and Google Slides. And so those are great ways of doing things. And there's some amazing backgrounds that you can use and drawing tools right in Google Docs and Google Slides. We're going to kind of wrap things up. Hopefully you'll share with us in the chat what's your favorite tool from today. Tasha, do you want to add anything to the creativity?
No, you know what? There's so many different tools, and I hope the one thing that you get from what we're saying is that we're not limited in terms of how you use these things. We could have had a 4-hour presentation if we sort of went through all the tools that we have in our toolbox, but we just picked a few. So we want to hear from you. John gave you our hashtag and the Twitter handle. So all throughout the year, please keep in touch and let us know some of the fun things that you're doing and some of the engaging things that you're doing in your classroom to teach your content. I just want to mention that I know that we went through a lot, but everything that was linked in the presentation, I did put it on the additional resources altogether. So these next 2 slides here, when you get a copy of the presentation, have everything, all the how-tos and all the best practices and needs in terms of how do I actually, step by step do this, is listed here. So you can always reach out to us. Our contact information is on our website, and we love your emails, and we really try to get back to you in a timely manner and if feel free to send it to, a group of us. And if one of us can't answer, we pass it on so that somebody else can answer. And Donna's going to help us wrap it up with ELM. Goodness.
Okay, so if you're in Palm Beach County, we're going to tell you about ELM. If you're outside of Palm Beach County, you can just kind of disregard this. We have people from all over the world that kind of tune in. So just want to make sure this is only for teachers in Palm Beach County, which is our e-learning management. If you haven't registered for the course, you need to register for the live version of the 4Cs. And someone's going to put in the code to look for in ELM. You can register today. You have to register for this course by Monday. Registration ends on Monday for the 4Cs on the live version. Okay, we have 4 other versions of the recorded, and we have this version of the live, and then we'll do another live in a couple of weeks during preschool week. Okay, you can, if you're enrolled in the I forget what it's called. If you're enrolled in the recorded session and you want to change it, I believe you can go into ELM and actually change it by going to this pull-down menu. I believe, oh, there it is, on alternate enrollment options. So you can go down there and change your enrollment from the recorded to the live. Now, we said that enrollment is due by next Monday, but your implementation is, the course doesn't close till September 30th. So you have until September 30th to complete your part of the assignment, which is the teacher evidence. And we'll talk about evidence in just a minute. So you can have evidence from last year that you can use, or you can wait and have some evidence from this year. You'll have until September 30th to submit evidence. That's when the course is closed. Okay? We've got almost 1,000 people in our courses alone on the 4Cs submitting evidence. So bear with us as we go through the grading, because we're trying to go through and grade them as you submit them, but you'll have to be patient with us, okay? I know that Teaching and Learning sent out something saying that your badges will not come until January, and that we have until the end of September, and your points will probably get transferred sometime in October or November. So bear with us. So let's talk about implementation. So Tasha may want to add something to this because she created this, but there are 4 elements to your implementation. The first thing is to identify which one of the 4 Cs. Now, she has a document, a Google document, that you make a copy of it, and you write your answers in that. So the first thing is which one of the 4 Cs did you use to implement? You can use one or you can use multiples, because as you can see, they overlap a lot. So like you could do a communication and a collaboration with critical thinking, or you could do something creativity and communication. So there may be some overlapping, and you can state that. The second component is to provide a link to a lesson plan on how you used those 4 Cs in your classroom. And then we wanted you to have evidence, student evidence, of a screenshot of a project. Like I said, it could be from last year, or it could be that you wait until this year and you're doing one. So if you're doing a Flipgrid activity, you're just doing a screenshot of one of the Flipgrid activities. Also, you need to summarize, that's the 4th component, to summarize the project in this, like the 2nd page or 3rd page, I think it is, where you summarize how you implemented the project. Don't tell us you're going to plan to do it. Tell us how it went when you did it, because we need to have evidence that you actually implemented this and not that you're going to implement this. We need to have at least those pieces to grade to show completion of this course. And we really are excited that you took the course, and we're really excited that you want to share anything. Tasha, did you want to talk anything about implementation?
No, I think you hit everything. We just want to see evidence of any one of the 4 Cs in your lesson plans.
Great. And then the last thing that you'll need to complete in Module 3 is the survey, the district mandated survey. And that's easy. You just complete that. Make sure you fill in all the questions and answer them and provide some feedback. We appreciate feedback. And so we really appreciate those kinds of pieces. Any other questions about that? Okay. So we also, if you don't want to email us, we have office hours every Thursday when we're not training. Today, we don't have office hours because we're training today. But we have office hours on Thursdays from 10 to 11. Once the school year starts, we may have to flex that because we know that the schedules are changing and we're going to be flexible on how we change them. But you can always go to our website, and we have a calendar on our website that you can subscribe to, and it'll show you when we have office hours. Office hours are kind of like an unconference where you can come and you can ask your question and you can show your screen. We can show our screens and we can show you the different steps. So you can ask us questions about this course or other courses or other things that you're trying to have problems with ed tech. We may not have all the answers, but we'll try our best to find the answers. So that's next Thursday from 10 to 11.
And I also wanted to mention about office hours. You're totally welcome to come in and out, I mean, at any time. So we're there from 10 to 11, but you don't have to stay the entire time, or, you know, just pop in, ask a question, pop back out. If you pop in and we're talking, go ahead and put your question in the chat, because there's usually several of us there to answer your questions. It is our time for you. So we want to make sure that your questions are answered.
All right, and we talked a lot about our website. This is our website, edtechtraining.palmbeachschools.org, and we've made sure this was your one-stop shop on everything regarding to ed tech, from Google Classroom to Google Meet to SLSO to Adobe Spark to Hyperdocs. Everything we talked in, there's a page on Book Creator. It has links to our previous trainings and videos, and it has access to our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel has over 80 videos of content that we produced since last March. And so it's going to have updates when Google Meet gets updated in the next few weeks, we hope. We will be doing updates on what's new in Google Meet and how you can use that. We'll be doing further trainings coming up after Labor Day. We're going to wait till after school starts and kind of start doing live streams again. And we'll have our office hours as well. And so everything is at our edtechtraining.palmbeachschools.org website. One more thing is we are going back to our Twitter chats. We're calling them Tuesday Twitter chats. And if you don't know what a Twitter chat is, it's a great tool to just have a conversation. It's a conversation. And this week, we're going to talk about getting to know you. And we're going to talk about strategies to get to know your students remotely using distance learning. And we're going to talk about how to communicate. And it's a chat where you're going to share your examples. We'll share examples and you'll hear from people. And guess what? It's not just people in our district. It'll be people from all over the world that will see that. And it's a great way of getting new resources. And so we'll hope that you'll join us next Tuesday, August 11th at 3:30. All you have to do is follow that hashtag EdTechPBCChat, and just be there at 3:30 next Tuesday, and you'll see the questions and you'll be able to join the conversation. And we hope to see you there, or not, and if not, then next month, join us. We at the EdTech training team are part of a larger group called the Department of Educational Technology. We're the training team. We've designed these resources for you and trying to articulate these resources and curate them and try to provide them to help you through this time. And we will continue to do that even when we go back to face-to-face instruction, which we hope is soon. These are our Twitter handles. You can follow us on Twitter. On our website is our contact information. Tasha mentioned that if you have a problem, please feel free to reach out to all of us at one time, because that way, if one of us is swamped, the other can cover for us. And we're going into some heavy duty times, and we want to make sure that your emails get answered and get answered quickly as possible. And so please feel free to reach out with us. You can follow us on Twitter and share things. And we at the whole team, as the training team, as well as the Department of Education Technology, want to thank you.
Yes.
And hope that you have a great school year, and we are here to support you and be with you during this time. Thank you so much. And
Awesome.
keep sharing ideas in the chat.
Thank you, guys.